Hello, I am Scott Herbst and president of Six Flex Training and Consulting, and you are listening to or watching The Flex. This is a show where we talk with people who are expressing leadership with the intention that it give you access to expressing yours. I am really excited today to introduce you to Allie Lawyer. Allie is the Chief Operating Officer of Imprint Pediatric Therapy. And they are an agency that provides behavioral services to children and adults with autism in the clinic, in Dayhab, and in the community in the Columbus, Indiana area. As usual, I am going to really let you hear Allie's story from Allie. And Allie, excited to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much, Scott, and thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm super excited.
My pleasure.
As Scott mentioned, I live in the Columbus Seymour area in Indiana, really homegrown roots, Southern Indiana feel, and working in that behavior analytic field and excited to chat and have a great time.
Awesome. So where I always start this, I just open up space to have you share your origin story, if you will, of what led you to the leadership role you find yourself in now. Go back as far as you like, but would love to hear where your path started and where you've been.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm originally from Evansville, Indiana, which is the southern tip of Indiana, if you're familiar with it. And I met my husband on a mission trip to Canada, and we got married in 2017. They're a big farming family, so I moved to his local town, which was Seymour, Indiana, after we got married. And my background in education is early childhood education. That's what my bachelor's is in. So I've always loved working with children, especially the 3 to 5 year olds, really my niche. And I was working in a preschool setting. I was doing Head Start at the time, and I was pregnant with my twin boys, who are now 6, on maternity leave, and knew I wanted to just do more than teaching in a classroom setting. And I had a few children in my classroom that had behaviors that I didn't really feel equipped to handle or navigate. Really felt like unknown territory. And while I was on maternity leave, looking for some of those places where I could grow and just continue to grow in the area of children. That was my main area of specialty that I wanted to continue. And I found ABA, and I had never heard of ABA before.
How'd you find?
On Indeed. Honestly, I was looking through posts on Indeed,
Yeah.
and Imprint Pediatric Therapy had a job opening for an ABA therapist / RBT role. And so I researched what ABA was and found out that it was one-on-one therapy for children that exhibit challenging behaviors. And you were given behavior plans and a roadmap on what to do. And I felt like I was already navigating that area with 18 children on my own. So to find an area that would do one-on-one and give you the tools you needed to help those children sounded like a dream come true. So I applied. My little twin boys were still at home crying in the background for my phone interview, but I was hired, went in for an in-person secondary interview. And it was a really good fit for both of us. So I started, I think, the week or so after, and I fell in love with it immediately. I went ahead and went straight for my RBT certification. While I was doing my RBT certification and doing the direct therapy, I loved watching the BCBAs and what they did and just the whole purpose behind what ABA was. And so I decided to go back and get my master's in ABA. So I went through my master's program, got my certification in 2021 for BCBA. And yeah, so my journey through Imprint, I've been there for almost 6.5 years. Started out as an ABA therapist that had no idea what ABA was. Went to RBT, then to program manager within the student program. then program director of our Seymour location that we opened up about a year ago, and now COO. So definitely grew within the company, have grown into a true passion of implementing services with children. I still really adore that like 3 to 5 range, but Imprint offers those behavioral services all the way up through adults. So get to see everyone that we grow up through our program find those niches and those passions and implement it together. So it's been a great journey.
Awesome. And I'm always interested to hear, because you've gone really from frontline to now managing operations for the
Yeah.
company in the same place. So I think your story's a little unusual. It's not like completely not, but it's a little unusual, right? That you
Mhm.
start there and stay with it. What I'm curious, what challenges have you faced navigating that pathway? And I mean, let's start talking about what you learned about leadership.
Yeah. So when I first started, I would have never thought I'd be here. That would have never been something I could see myself doing. Um, I want to be good at what I do, but I never thought I'd be good enough to teach others what to do. That's definitely was
Yeah.
something I struggled with for a long time. And I had
When you
never,
say struggled with it, what do you mean?
so like imagining myself or being confident enough in myself to lead others or to teach others in this field, especially not coming from this field. So
Yes.
when you encounter people in this field, a lot of times they've been in it for a long time, like they've been in RBT for a long time. Um, or they have someone in their family that received these services. So they've, heard of it for a while. Coming in as a person that wasn't aware of what this world was, being able to teach others and lead others through the program and through the profession was very intimidating for me, for sure.
Yeah. So it sounds like it wasn't so much of a the struggle. I could see it going two ways. One is what you just described. The other would be like, I really found out I couldn't teach adults the thing. But it sounds like it was more along the lines of the competency was there. It was more like just the view of yourself, like, do I have the competency?
For sure.
And I'm curious if imposter syndrome rings. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's not a day that goes by that there's some type of imposter syndrome in this field because
Yeah.
the field is ever changing, right? So I feel like there's never a day where you have it all together or feel like you know what you're doing entirely because
Yeah.
there's so many different ways to run the field.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that then, because obviously, even if you woke up this morning and, brushing your teeth were like looking in the mirror, oh my God, um, what are you doing here? You don't belong, right? If your
Right.
mind is saying that it clearly hasn't stopped you. And I'll bet it's been there along the way at different points. And I also know that this is something that people really relate to. I do free events periodically to market my business.
Hmm.
I do one on imposter syndrome. People are there.
Yeah,
Like people can relate. So
for
really
sure.
curious what you've discovered about um, providing effective leadership while your mind might be saying, you don't belong, you're not the one, etc.
Yeah, and I think throughout my journey here, so our student program, I feel like student program here is kind of giving me the best version of the story. But our student program here at Imprint was created for me and one other person to go through it. So we were the first to go through a student program here at Imprint. And it's evolved and changed since then because that's been 4 years ago. But
And a student
that
program is that you are training to be a BCBA or for
yeah.
whatever
Uh-huh.
on the job and your company supporting you.
Yes,
Yeah.
BCBA and BCABA going through that fieldwork supervision section of your education, getting those hours, getting those opportunities, tracking that supervision, all of the fun and nitty-gritty stuff before you get all the preparation to do the job. And something that I was asked to do almost recently after being certified was to help run the student program. And I was a definite no. I was like, no, I'll help with anything else in the company, but I do not want to assist in the student program. That is not something I would be good at because I'm also not a good like studier. I'm not a good studier. I don't feel like the textbook ABA would be something I'd be good at helping and assisting with. And so I was a hard no for like the first 2 years of my certification. And it came around to where like we didn't have anyone else to run it. And they were like, Allie, I think you would do a great job. I was like, I don't think I have anything to offer. I really don't. And they were like, but you do. So you have went through the program, you have been in their shoes, and you've had to work on your skills as you grow. So something that I struggled with in the beginning too was knowing knowing something was being able to be implemented correctly, but then helping others that weren't correctly implementing, right? So
Yeah.
I worked so hard on myself to be able to do things correctly because I want to do well. And then how do I guide and shape others to do those correct things as well, while being compassionate, while being kind, and not coming across as, well, you're doing it wrong, fix it, right? How do I
Yeah.
be a compassionate leader in that way? So I had several conversations with my leaders that I needed to shape my feedback a little bit differently, or my feedback was too direct. I got a lot of feedback on that at first. So over the 6 years I've been at Imprint, I've had to work extremely hard on, and the thing is, in this field, we work so hard to provide these type of experiences to our clients, to be empathetic, to meet them where they're at, to be understanding, to pair and build those relationships with our clients, that we forget that we also need to do those things to every other human being that we encounter. Just because they may have the label of autism and they're receiving services from us doesn't mean that we shouldn't also treat others with the same compassion, same empathy, same care that we feel like our clients deserve, and they do. So I had to do a lot of working on myself internally, like not only implementing these things in my workplace, but also implementing these things at home with my children, with my husband, with my parents, feeling out where I could implement these things throughout my entire life. It wasn't just like, this is how I am at work and this is how
Yeah.
I'm outside of here. Like this has to be me changing as a whole person.
Yeah. I love that. And I want to talk more about it. One thing I want to underline though, and I really appreciate this, is that what I think you're really talking about is learning how to communicate in a way that like people are open to it and receptive,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
And can apply your feedback without, like, you really want your feedback to be empowering to people, not devastating or undercutting, right?
For sure.
um and I so appreciate that you worked on that. um and what I just love and want people to take away is that it is communication.
Hmm.
And so it's not something, like you pointed to, that you have to wait to practice until you're in a conversation where you have to provide corrective feedback.
Hmm.
Is something you can be working on with and improving at with everyone in your life,
Yeah.
so that when that situation arises, um like, you've got to correct someone's feedback, you've got
Hmm.
more and more reps in, right?
Yeah. Well, and
I think
the
that's
biggest
something
part of
people.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
And the biggest part of that, Scott, is the relationship that you build. So something that I really strive for our programming team, as well as like me as an individual, is building those relationships with those people around me. So that way, in the moment that I need to give feedback, whether that is constructive feedback or positive feedback, that's given in a relationship driven way. So that way we're both open to hearing what each other has to say, and we're both receptive to what each other have to say because we have built that foundational relationship first.
Yes. Let's talk about that. So two things I kind of want to, like, stick a pin in. Well, I'm curious how you build a relationship. I know that in the work you're talking about doing, um, there's often not a ton of time around the water cooler.
Hmm.
Like, people go in and they supervise people, and then they've got to like go to the next appointment, and you're with clients while this is going on, right? So how do you focus on building a relationship in I don't want to like put it high pressure on it, but where time is like real commodity, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And so as a COO, my time is very limited in those one-on-one atmospheres, right? So
Yeah,
I, as a very busy person with a full calendar, not even from my own doing, maybe other people's doing that put things on, have to make sure that each of those moments are meaningful because I might not get as many of them as maybe some of the BCBAs I supervise get with their direct line. But I do think that when you are with them, making sure that they feel valuable, that they feel heard, making sure that you're giving them eye contact. So if they're talking to me or asking me questions, I'm not looking at my computer or my phone, like I'm looking at them, giving them like those active listening
yeah,
characteristics, right? So we talk about pairing with our clients and building that rapport with our clients. I do the same thing with our staff and the people I supervise. If I know that they have a big event coming up or I overheard that they weren't feeling great, like, I care about them and I want them to know that I value them as a person and what they do. So I may ask, like, hey, how was your weekend? Or, oh, your wedding's coming up. How's that planning going? And it may take an extra like minute to ask them those questions,
yeah,
but those are meaningful minutes for them. And they're meaningful for me too. Like it's not just a show, because I want them to feel as comfortable receiving feedback from me because we've built this relationship as I hope that they know I am to receive feedback from them. So this is a two-way relationship. I want you to be able to give me feedback in the moment and let me know if something I said maybe offended you or you would like me to try and give feedback in this way. You're more receptive that way. Like, and I need to be able to be humble enough and accept that feedback and learn from it because this is not just because I'm your supervisor doesn't mean that I'm the only one that gives feedback in this relationship. So I think the active listening is very important as well as asking them those like short life questions. We don't want to take away from the therapy we're providing, but I can ask you quick questions in passing or if we're passing and you ask me a question, I'm not going to shove you off or say like, hold on, I don't have time for that right now. I may say like, if I'm in the middle of helping another person or we're in the middle of a behavior, I might say like, okay, let me help them. And then I'll come back and I'll touch base with you. But, they need to feel valued and they need to feel important too. And I have to be intentional about that.
yeah. Awesome. Um, oh my God, I said two things and then I'm forgetting what the other thing was.
Well, I have something else to add while you
Yeah, yeah,
think.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Something else I struggle sometimes for us as a programming team to make sure we remember is for our RBTs and our direct care staff, they are like their jobs are hard. Like being an RBT is hard, and that is like the front of it. You have to be on your A game all the time. You have to be fun, all these things that we expect our RBTs to do. However, we also forget that they also need like a bathroom break or they need to go outside and take some deep breaths or they may take a little bit longer from their lunch break because there was a line for the bathroom. And so a lot of times we look at them through this behavior analytic lens where we expect them to do this correctly. We need you to run this many trials. Don't forget to click that behavior when it happened. And we forget that they're actually a person on the other side of that job.
Yeah.
And so it's something I try to do, like if I notice that they're a little off, or maybe, here in Southern Indiana, we're starting farm season harvesting. So everybody's allergies are all yucky. So I'm like,
Mm.
hey, why don't you go take a breather outside? Or do you want to go get a drink? Or hey, what do you need from me right now? Because I can tell you're a little off, you're a little tired. So those kind of things, just making sure that they know that I care about who they are as a person and not just how they're implementing my programming.
Yeah.
Um, but just showing that empathy too, like, oh, they were like 5 minutes late from their lunch break. I'm not timing you. Like, take your time. What do you need? They are people first, right? And so that's something I also really try for our programming team and our culture as a whole. Just like, hey, whatever you need, I'm here. Granted, I also have meetings and things that I have to do. So I don't want to sit here and talk like that's me all the time because I also know people can't relate to that because it's not me all the time. But I do try if I have the time, my door's open. So if I'm in here on my computer, maybe doing some billing notes, my door is open. That way, if they need something, they need support, I'm available. If I'm in a meeting, my door's shut. I make sure there's available staff out there in case they need something. And when I do have the time, I give them the time. And I make sure that that's meaningful when I do have it.
Yeah, awesome. I can hear the relationship centeredness of your approach, of being available for people, being present
Mhm.
with people, and also being present to what's going on with people, and just
Mhm.
appreciating like this is a whole person here, not like a robot who
For sure.
I am programming to deliver reinforcers or etc.
Uh-huh.
Um, I do remember what I wanted to ask you about because I'm really interested in the learning process of um, moving from someone to from being someone who is, maybe you said direct, has like a pretty direct approach, to someone who really is sensitive to what's needed and what's going to make a difference in this person's world, right?
Mhm.
Like an approach that's going to work from them.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear any insights you have about how you develop, aside from all the like treating, you know, husband, kids, etc., like practice opportunities. Like how did you learn to tune into your environment to see what was working? How did you, like, where did you go for feedback? And realize like, okay, like I'm progressing, or I need to adjust something.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a complex question there, Scott. So I think so when I was trying to move into this more of a leadership role from the RBT role, and I was getting that feedback of getting my feedback was too direct and I needed to soften it or all of those things. And um I think the main thing that was standing in my way was of course myself. So I feel like I'm always the biggest thing standing in my way, whether that's me psyching myself out mentally, or I tend to feel things emotionally a little bit more.
Yeah.
So those two things probably were the most of the part standing in my way. But striving to do well, I felt like was a barrier for me because the hustle and bustle of this environment where just moving from one thing to another or checking off this and that, getting those hours written in, whatever that may be, that's what I was doing, just moving from one thing to another, getting the things done that I needed to get done. What I wasn't doing was stopping and seeing what was going on. I wasn't thinking about anyone else. I was just thinking about myself and getting what I needed to get done.
Yeah.
When I'm in direct care, that I'm doing what I need to do. Not worried about the people around me and not really caring about the people around me. I was worried about myself. So
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing I had to do was understand that so Imprint is a family atmosphere. We're growing, we're getting big, but we still strive so hard to have we have a local owner. She's very present in the day-to-day. And so the culture we have here at Imprint is very family-like atmosphere. We're not commercially owned, and we work really hard to make that feel that way. And so knowing that this is a team effort, this is not a me effort, this is a team effort. We're
Mhm.
all working together for our clients. We're all working together to grow. This is not just an alley thing. This is an Imprint thing. This is an ABA thing. And so I think making that shift in my head to where I could like observe and see what other people were doing and even learn from them. It wasn't just me
Yeah.
on my own.
This
Listening.
is, I want to dig into this a little bit.
Okay.
And not to challenge you, but this is what I mean, what you're saying is really, really valuable.
Okay.
And I talk with owners, and one of the challenges that they have in developing leaders, and I know it's also a frustration for people who want to provide leadership,
Mhm.
right? my wife owns a clinic, and I will hear her share about her employees, and I can see exactly what you're talking about in operation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I hear her frustrations, like, I need this person to actually like pull their, like, they're great. I want their skills replicated. They need to pull their head up out of like their little, what do I need to do, and actually look at, okay, what's needed for the organization, right?
Right.
But on the other hand, I hear stories about people, and I can just hear like, oh my God, that person wants to contribute so much. Like they really do have a desire to contribute,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't see how in their own little bubble that they are,
Yeah.
right? Um, so I'm really interested in like, so you're someone who like wants to provide leadership, right? Like
Now, it wasn't
how did
always, but yeah,
yeah,
now.
well, how did you get like, oh, was there a realization? Was there a insight? Was it a gradual shift that was like, oh, like I'm kind of being a little self-centered. Let me widen my view.
Yeah, and I think so I had we also have a leadership coach that helps our admin and our programming team too, and I have to give that shout out to her. So it's Amanda Cox with the Know Better Company.
Yeah,
Um she does do a lot of leadership coaching for ABA professionals, and something she was really helping me do too was like where's the emotion? Because I mentioned earlier that I will tie a lot of things to emotions, and I may have big feelings about something that may not really need those big feelings, and how to kind of digest that and figure out from there where to go. So something she helped me figure out is that not everything that's being stated is supposed to be hurtful to me. Not
mm,
everyone's out to get me, lack for
yeah,
better terms. And so when someone's communicating or when someone's trying to like do this or that, like taking myself out of that equation to figure out like
yeah,
what is their intent, what's the ultimate goal here, and stop taking everything so personally, and everything's not about me, right? Kind of like we mentioned earlier, I was only concerned about myself and was only seeing through the view of my own self instead of taking in the account of other people around me, maybe what their intent was, what does their past behavior contribute to this situation? Because just because you came and said something to me doesn't mean it was directed at me, or that you disagree with something I did. So I had to really separate that and start to learn,
yeah,
there are people around me that have different perspectives, different views, and that really helped me to get into that empathy perspective too.
yeah.
And so I try to roll this out to even with so our CEO, well, Imprint's executive team. So we have our owner, we have our CEO, and we have myself. All three of us grew up within the company, or besides the owner. And then we have our HR. So all three of us started at Imprint as RBTs and have grown through the company. All the company's been open for
Wow.
6.5 years. So all three of us have been here for 6 years, and have grown up within the company, have almost played every role throughout the company to be able to really hone in that perspective of that frontline staff and bring all of those perspectives to a table to make informed decisions moving forward. And that's something I feel like is very valuable in a company. But even when like we're talking about things at the executive level, or like trying to roll out new policies, um, being able to look at it in the perspective of others, like, well, I feel like this is going to be perceived in this way, so I would like to navigate it in that, those eyes, or
Yeah.
that mindset, because I want this to be what is best for our team. So we work really hard on that. But I think,
Can I just pause, and I think what you said is really valuable, and just an exercise that I can hear in what you said is that um anytime you get offended or feelings hurt, whatever, there's an opportunity to pause.
yes, for sure.
And it sounds like Amanda Cox gave you some strategies for like actually recognizing, well, what's going on in my body, and where is the feeling, and
Yeah.
etc. Yep.
Hmm.
So that like taking a pause, getting present to, well, what's here,
Hmm.
um, without like just checking it out, right? Uh, create a little space, and then, am I hearing this right? Maybe try to take the other person's perspective
Mhm.
and look at, well, what is their intention? If it's not to hurt me, right?
Mhm.
Or question me or whatever, what is their intention? And it sounds like through practice of that, you developed as a listener and in your ability to not be so reactive to things.
For sure. One of the mottos we have here too that Amanda has kind of helped us is bring more calm to the chaos than
Yeah.
chaos. So that's something we really strive to do. So, being in that front line, where you are working through those challenging behaviors, or a lot of things may feel like they're going wrong one after another. When you approach that situation, like bringing that calm to the chaos rather than like amping it all up. So we
Yeah.
work a lot on that, just helping them understand like, hey, I'm here to help you. It's not a big deal. We're going to work on it together. What can I do? Just helping them understand that we are a team and we're here to support each other. You're not on your own in this. And I'm not upset that they're engaging in this behavior or that this instance is happening. What can I do to help you move on from here, or, what have you? But Amanda actually talks about that pause. So where is the pause? Like, what is your pause? When this happens, how are you pausing? So I'm glad you brought that up, Scott.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for letting me interrupt there. Um, we are getting close to the end of the time we set aside. I do want to ask you if we could turn a little attention forward a little bit. What's your next challenge? And both in terms of here's what we're looking to cause at Imprint, and here's how I'm looking to grow and develop in my own leadership.
Mhm. Yeah, so we actually have a lot of fun things coming up for Imprint that we're excited about. Um, One of the things we're looking at, we don't have all of the answers yet, but something we're working on growing is creating like a Montessori in between school. So something that ABA is encountering and having challenges with is when the insurance companies are challenging how many hours they feel are medically necessary. And as practitioners, we don't feel like they're quite ready for that that move into the school system, and like where's that in between role for them.
Yeah.
So we're really looking at opening up a Montessori themed school, like a transitionary school almost,
Yeah.
for that in between section of our clients' lives. So we're really passionate about that. So that's in the works, nothing finalized yet, but
Yeah.
we're working on that. Um, for myself, I just enrolled in classes at the Animal Behavior Institute. Um,
Really?
yeah, so as a Midwestern girly, we love to ride horses and be outside and in nature and all those fun things. So I'm really passionate about equine therapy. So I start in January to get my animal assisted therapy with equine specialistic characteristics to be able to offer equine therapy to our clients. So I'm super excited about that. Hopefully by next summer, we'll be able to start implementing that, as well as some canine assisted therapy too. So that's really fun.
Awesome. And then I have two more questions for you.
Okay.
I just love to ask everyone is what are you proud of? And you have free reign to answer, say anything.
Okay. I mean, I'm one thing I've always prided myself on is I try really hard to grow from feedback. So feedback was always really hard for me to accept in the beginning because I didn't want to do something wrong and then need feedback. Because I felt like then I failed, right? If you had to give me feedback, then I failed. So I feel like something I want to be prideful in is I try really hard not to get the same feedback twice.
Hmm.
So if you give me feedback, I want to work really hard to grow from that feedback. So that way, the next time you give me feedback, it's for me to grow in another way. So that I'm continuously growing. Now something we talk about a lot is growth isn't linear. So, you have the hills and valleys of growth, and that doesn't mean that you're not growing, but that it isn't linear. It can be very zigzaggy. So I guess I would say ultimately I'm proud of where I'm at now because I feel like I had to work hard to get here, and I had to do not only just like school. I feel like when I say I worked hard, the school is like this much of my working hard. My certification, I feel like is this much of what I've done to get here. But the in-depth work I've done on myself, on my character, on my mindset, really relationships are the driven thing. I feel like is the foundation of that too. So what I've had to do to work on that, I would say I'm most proud of that.
Awesome. I love it. You reminded me, I reached a level in an organization, and it, like, all the, like, getting a PhD wasn't that hard for me, but like performing in this organization, it just was. And that probably was my proudest achievement, like, because it took me transforming the usual, like, my habitual comfortable patterns. So I really appreciate you saying that. And I wish everyone would take on transforming that stuff for themselves.
Yeah,
The
because
service.
it's so easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome. And then my last question is, if people are interested in reaching you, how can they do that?
for sure. So my email for Imprint Pediatric Therapy is Ali, so ALI at imprinttherapy.org. I'm also on LinkedIn. If you search Ali Lawyer, you should be able to find me. I'm kind of newer to LinkedIn, so I don't know how you actually reach people that way. If there's a handle, I'm not sure.
Send them a
So
connection request. Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's great. And then I'm also on Facebook too under Ali Lawyer. So yeah.
Ellie, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and share your insights and, share honestly about your journey. I really appreciate it. I know our listeners appreciate it as well. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Scott. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. And for those of you watching, this concludes this episode of The Flex. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Of course, click all the buttons, give us a 5-star review, and we will see you back here next time.